So I've just got a new car and that's given me some new problems. Where's the cable? It's there. I have no access to that cable. Drill any more holes. I want to install a rear dash cam. In the car over there, I've got it in the window. And you're probably screaming at me, why can't I put the camera in the window? But that doesn't work, and we'll explain why later. We're going to have to drill some holes down here to install it. But first, let me show you why a camera up here doesn't work. Well, this is why, because the roof is a convertible, so anything up here is not going to be much use when you've not got the roof up there. I've actually mounted the dash cam here. I thought, that's great, but this piece, it moves, it comes up and down with the wind, and that doesn't work. It doesn't work very well. This is a terrible angle. You've got all of this bodywork in the way, and literally you could barely see the phone over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the dash cam down here somewhere. This is where the number plate normally is, and up there are some lights. My thinking is I could stick it somewhere here centrally, drill a little hole there, and then if I pop the boot, which I must say can only be done with the key, you can come up sort of here-ish and maybe go round there, or I don't know, but somehow get into the boot. Maybe we need more holes. But at the moment, that's the plan. I think I should start by showing you the front dash cam. You're probably wondering what's happening with that. Previously, there's a video on my channel, quite an old video, that you can watch about how I installed this on the previous car. And it's very much the same. But I'll just quickly show you what's going on there so you understand and get a baseline. I'm here in the center part of the car and you can see the dash cam here. So the wiring actually goes into this metal housing here. Sorry, it's a bit dark. It's night time, but the housing goes in there into the housing and then sort of runs along there and down this pillar. Just down there and around there. If I trace it along here, you can see the wires. Actually, you can't even see the wires. I've done a great job. They go under the seat here. Then they come round up here. The plug is plugged in there, and the other wires are going up there. There's the tape and stuff from the last time. And they come around there and come up and came along here. That's the obvious place. But as you can clearly see, this moves. In order to remove this dash cam, I've had to first put the boot up. And my hope is now that I can get it out quite easily. The cable sort of runs around here. It's a bit complicated, but, well, that came off easy. It's just sort of stuck on there. Let me stick this thing up and you can get a demonstration then of what this looks like. So this is the piece that sort of lifts. It's supposed to be a sort of windbreaker, and we'd attached it to the top. As you can see, we're taking it off now, but I've sort of done a very good job of attaching the cable. So my hope is I can kind of just pull it out. In typical fashion, this went in easier than it's going to come out. I might need to put that back down. Where's the cable? It's there. I have no access to that cable. My hope is now that I should be able to finally get this out. The cable's sort of stuck. Oh, it's the connector that's stuck. Well, that was simple in the end. It was just stuck. Okay, so let's go around the back and let me show you what we do. We're going to drill the hole, drill any more holes, shit our pants because it's gone wrong, and get worried because I damaged the car. Okay, let's go with it. So this is where the number plate sort of normally goes. And you can probably see the two white lights. Somewhere sort of here, centrally, is where I'm thinking of putting it. I probably only need one hole. If I drill one hole here, I can go up through what is essentially plastic, into here, and sort of run it around, and then sort of pop into the boot. That's my hope. But I might need a second hole in the metal bit between this and the boot in order to come out in the boot. So let's start with the first hole. First of all, we need to know where the camera goes. So the camera's kind of going to go like there. So we want the hole sort of central. If we drill the hole centrally along with this line, the cable can go behind and go up. And then we can just fill it in with a little bit of epoxy and nobody will notice. Let's do that, shall we? As is typical fashion, the piece I need, the 6.5, is missing. But we've had to go with a 12-inch spade, which is definitely big enough for the cable. Actually, to be fair, I don't know if the 6 would have taken it. I don't know how well the camera showed out. So let's get to it. Let's get to work. This is the point of no return. If I'm honest, a little worried. Quite a bit. Because I can't undo this step, can I? But that's where I want the hole. So I either drill it up there or I drill it behind the number plate. I don't think there's any point in coming behind the number plate, because I want to go that way to come up into the boot. If I'm back behind here, it should be easy. Definitely made a hole now. Now I've got a hole. The question is, can I make that hole work? Ooh. So from that hole, we should be able to come out the top, but that's the hole there. You can see it there where my finger is. And my hope is that I can come up here in between this gasket and then probably run around and get in here, maybe sort of go under the gasket and round and in here, just to sort of keep it out of the way, save me drilling any holes. Or I drill a hole in what is the metal bit that goes here to allow it to come into the car. So now I've got the jumbo rods. These are meant to help you fish sort of cables through walls and stuff. But if we get one of these out, probably one of the yellow ones, we could stick it up there, sort of up through this hole, and sort of out the top here. Okay, that was relatively easy. It's just stuck out here. You can probably see that. That's kind of worked. If I'm honest with you, it's been about 5 minutes since I started. I don't know how long the video is, but this is well easy. Note to self, note to future you or future me. This is not as difficult as it might first assume when you look at the task in hand. I don't know how much is left of the task in hand, but this is turning out to be a painless experience. So now what I've got to do is I've got to pull that cable up and then just hope I can get it into the car. Some time has passed now, and what I've got is I've got the camera, I've got the rod in, and I've worked out that over here, which I think is just in frame, is how we're going to get into the car. There's a little gap. I've just made it slightly wider. I didn't want to film that because it's a bit more like filing it down. I didn't think that was... But essentially I've made a small little gap. There's a small little hole. I'll show you when we get to that point. But we're going to go up here with the camera rod now. So hopefully I could just stick this in. So we'll just tape these onto here. When taping stuff onto rods and stuff, make sure you cover the connectors at the end. I always tend to think that's a valuable point. That's the point at which they're going to rub against. And if you've got like exposed connectors, so you've got like an Ethernet cable or something like this, like a camera, you want to make sure you're covering it up. I've made it work. So now, all I have to do is in here, pull that out, and like so, I have the cable. I think it's safe to say we've achieved this part of the project. The problem I've just realised is this isn't going to reach, or it might just reach to that hole. So once the camera's installed, we should be good. So let's just install the camera. I've got some double-sided tape. Give it a little snip, give it a little peel, and give it a little stick. Obviously the hole behind there needs filling, but I don't have any filler for that now. It's currently 11:40 at night, so I don't think there'll be any filler open at the moment. So I'll have to get that tomorrow. So a closer look at the camera. There you go, it's installed. Cable comes up here. Then I've made a little snip. I've done a little snip in there. My hope is that this will all go back together and you won't even notice. So I can pull this cable like that, and it's just enough that the connector is going to be on the inside. How well can you see this? It's just enough that the connector is going to be there. It's going to be inside, and a bit of tape around it should be okay. So we're going to do that bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the cable tight, which comes to about there. And now I'm just going to wrap some tape around this. All I'm worried about is that this is a bit sharp, and that the wear and tear might damage the cable. That's probably the worst job of wrapping tape around anything I've ever done, but that comes along there, goes through there with the connector, and that can just sit nice and neatly in that groove. And then if I push this back down, this is not quite perfectly flat, but actually you can barely notice. There's a little bit. It's a little bit more obvious than on this side. I could probably make it flat, but my problem with this is the cable's coming through here, and I don't want to touch the rubber gasket because I want the rubber to still seal. And I'm pretty sure this will still shut. That still shuts fine. So that's not a problem. Now I've got to get the keys out again. So that's coming out of there. So we're just going to run this inside the plastic under here. I probably need to pop that out or whatever. We'll run it inside the plastic under there, and then I'll get the cable through there, and it'll actually be done. So the best way to explain what I've done is I've had to lift this centerpiece up. So now there's a gap in there, and the connector is going to have to reside behind this piece here. It's just not quite long enough to sort of be down here or up here accessible. So in here at the back, there is the cable. I'm going to go into the car and get that out, pull that along there, bring that up the side here, and put the join in there. Let's do that. The cable now that you just saw, that can go around the edge, and if I just plug it in here, we can just put all this back together, hopefully. That's the part where I hope it all goes back together. You know, the easy part about a DIY project, or something like this, is kind of the taking it apart stage. Like I can pull this out, and now I'm like, how do I get this back together? Or I can get this cable out of here. I'm going to have to poke it all back in at some point. And you don't really think about that. Well, I tend not to think about that. I tend to be more of a person who goes, fuck it, we can solve the problem. I don't need to think too much about it. If I think too much about it, I'll get worried about it. And at that point, all we're doing is being worried about the problem. So, you know what I said about problems? The cable just isn't quite long enough. We might be able to make it longer. Let me go have a look. Oh, this is really annoying. We must be about this much short. It just doesn't quite fit in the boot. Like, the cable's going to reach, it's just not going to look very neat, which is really annoying, because I was hoping this would be kind of like a cable-free. I think we call this a success. I think I'm done. So, let me show you a bit about what's going on. This is the camera. Number plate goes here. Cable comes up. It doesn't come straight up, it comes diagonally across. And then here, where this bit lumps out slightly there, is where the cable loops across. It comes in under here, stays under here, then runs down under this flooring. If I lift the flooring up, you might be able to just make out the cable there. Runs along there, and then that runs up along the back there and round. It then runs round the side of the seat, along the door frame, and up. I think it's safe to say this is actually complete. This hasn't taken me anywhere near as long. It's 20 minutes past 12 now, so it's actually only taken me probably about an hour, maybe slightly longer. This has been pretty simple. I didn't expect it to be. I thought this was going to be a disaster of a project. I thought I'd be drilling holes, taking all the car apart, whatever it might be. So I hope you found this one interesting, and I'll see you in the next one, which will probably be something more tech related. So I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.